May the words of my mouth and the meditations of all of our hearts be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer. Amen. Please be seated. Good morning, church. How's everybody doing? Okay? Let's spend some time today checking in with each other. And in the days ahead, let's keep doing it. Ask sincerely how the other is doing and listen carefully. It's not important to relitigate our arguments for or against the outcome of the election. What's important is that each of us hears how others feel, what they care about, and what they need to feel safe, have hope, and thrive. It's okay to feel however it is you feel today. This is our safe space. This is our community. Our community, really our whole country, is not of one mind on how and who best to address some of our most challenging issues. And I love the widow's mite this morning. I have to say that even in this pledge season, and please don't forget to get your pledges in because it's super important to uphold and to let us know how to budget to hold up this community. But the widow's mite, that's often taken as a money analogy. But listen to what the end is. She was all in. She was all into her community. She gave everything she had, fully participated in this safe space, in this community. In as much as it's about money, it's not about money. It's about being all into the community. I often wear, maybe some of you have seen it, my widow's mite from Jerusalem as a collar button. I don't happen to have it fastening my collar today, but it is a reminder of just being all in. And some of us today may be disappointed or even fearful, while others could be happy or relieved. But whether you're relieved or frightened or glad or disappointed or validated or mystified, we've all wrestled with the reality that roughly half of the people in our country see things another way. And I don't know about you, but for me that felt kind of sudden. Because I'd been prepared for many months to imagine 4 or 5 days, 7 days a week of vote counting. And instead, we woke up in the morning to see the stark evidence of our differing views. It came earlier than I expected, and so maybe the impact felt even more jarring, at least to me. I have to admit, I was struggling. I turn to my go-to comfort in times of political turmoil, my psalms of lamentation, hope, and praise that I find in really good television. Come and see me for a watch list if you need suggestions. I sat down and watched season 2 of The West Wing. Aaron Sorkin's 1999 political drama starring Martin Sheen as the Nobel laureate-winning president and an absolutely knockout ensemble cast as the White House staff. The writing is brilliant, even Shakespearean in its parallel storylines of the interpersonal relationships between the White House staffers that then play out thematically across the cultural and world political stage. I've probably watched the whole 7 seasons, maybe, 5, 6, 7 times through over the years as an antidote to my political disorientation, especially when I need a dose of hope. I went straight to the episodes that the doctor prescribed for my particular ache, that we as a nation have just been reminded that we don't all see things the same way. I watched In This White House, which is episode 3 of season 2, if you're looking, where the brilliant, young, articulate, idealistic Deputy Communications Director Sam Seaborn appears on Capitol Beat, a political talking heads show, opposite Ainsley Hayes, the brilliant, young, articulate political analyst from the other political party. The president and the rest of the White House staff watch back at the White House, incredibly, gleefully, totally entertained, as Sam gets, as the president said later, sliced and diced by a woman named Ainsley Hayes. Sam and Ainsley are discussing a piece of educational legislation that the White House has championed and that the other party has vigorously opposed. President Bartlett, who loves working with, as he says, smart people who disagree with him, orders his chief of staff to hire Ainsley Hayes to work at the White House, and the episode unfolds, showing each side's abject horror at the idea of working with the other. Now, it's not important for the purposes of this conversation to know which party was which in the White House, but rather what each assumed about the other's character, intelligence, capability, and motivation. In the final scene, Ainsley's colleagues, waiting back at the pub, she spent the day in the White House trying to get a moment with Chief of Staff Leo McGarry to tell him that she will not take the job. But crisis after crisis, opportunity after opportunity unfolds in that White House, and she sees the staff in action. So back at the pub, Ainsley's colleagues, assuming that she has refused this job offer from these terrible people, they begin trash talking the White House staff to Ainsley, asking, what was the look on Leo McGarry's face when you told him you absolutely would not take that offer, calling the White House staff worthless? Do not talk about them that way, she says. Say they're smug and superior. Say they like high taxes and love spending your money. But don't call them worthless, not around me. They are extraordinarily qualified. Their intent is good and their commitment is true. They are righteous, they are patriots, and I am their lawyer. We have different perspectives built on gender, race, ethnicity, socioeconomic location, education, regional and local culture, and our own lived experience. And here's another thing, newsflash, we're individuals. Each of us uniquely made in God's image. Our views are not defined by our race, gender, age, the way we look, where we're from, or what we do for a living. We cannot demonize one another because we all are the other. Just look at the election data. We split in every demographic category. Recent news reports tell us that Americans are this new trend of moving to communities where your political ideas are affirmed and the other's views match your own. This is what creates those super landslide districts and communities. But is that the right answer? Is that the right answer when our communities, our workplaces, our organizations, even our families, our own families, represent different views on how to solve our most challenging issues? See, this is not the message we get from Ruth, right? Our mother in the faith who flat out refuses Naomi's suggestion that she stay back with her own home folks in Moab, with her own gods and her own people, while Naomi goes around the Dead Sea, all the way back to Judea, to Bethlehem. Ruth says no. And just think about that metaphor of the Dead Sea, that giant body of salt water so very salty that it cannot support life, That is the stark difference between Moab and Judea. There's a reason why those two towns are located on both sides, is to emphasize that in this teaching to us. Through compassion, community, relationship, and empathy, Ruth marries Naomi's cousin Boaz, building a future that begets Obed, that begets King David, who with Uriah the Hittite's wife Bathsheba begets King Solomon, continuing in that great line of begetting all the way to Mary, Mother of God, Mary, Mother of Jesus, who begets Jesus, and then us, his children, who follow. I'm going to say this quickly for priestly decorum, so got to keep up. But any of you who thought, maybe when you heard that reading, that feet was an Old Testament euphemism for another body part, you are correct. This is not a story of sticking to our own kind and othering those who are different from us. Our greatest opportunity in these next weeks and days is to find and show compassion for one another. The compassion of Ainsley Hayes for the White House staff, the compassion of Naomi for her mother-in-law or for her Moabite daughter-in-law, Ruth, because that's how we form community. And community is life-sustaining, especially now. Staying in conversation with those who think differently than we do helps us to grow together, to stay curious and listen to each other, always ready to learn something new or to change our minds. The sense of belonging we get from being connected builds relationship, our capacity to listen and learn in love and curiosity to each other, and especially to those whose lives are different from ours. And relationship creates empathy, which is no less than our key to survival as human beings. Amen.